Hi there, it's Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. I'm going to start doing more videos, and I just felt like I needed to do one today. And this is there's no like specific buzzword I have or anything, just just whoever needs it. If you catch it and you feel like you need it, then it's for you. And just a lot of intense energies. We had a new moon yesterday. Today is July 21st, 2020. Oh my goodness. All right. So let me get comfortable. I've already got some cards out. I've been having a conversation with the universe a little bit and talking with different cards and even having conversations with other people. And so I've got cards in front of us. I guess I'll just dig in. So the first thing that is kind of like interesting or whatever is that in one deck, I got the Hierophant. And then in another deck, I got the Hierophant. So I almost don't even want to like say any more about that yet. I want that to be like, just like the overlighting message, if you see. And of course I got to go into it a little bit, but okay. So the Hierophant, there's like the traditional meaning, but I like to go by what Webster's dictionary says. Webster's defines the Hierophant as, or a Hierophant as, a person who translates the sacred mysteries. And so, I'll say it again. A Hierophant is a person who translates the sacred mysteries. So, my intention is to convey to anybody that will listen that we are all the Hierophant. We all have the ability to translate divinity, to translate the sacred messages that we all receive. We are all receiving them all the time. And so, I did a video last night. I didn't post it anywhere yet because I was stoned. I ate some edibles, I'm in Colorado, Anyway, no, and I did my full moon ritual and I was standing out on this mountain and I couldn't see the side where the moon was. It was a dark moon anyway. But where my guides had me go, I was facing Jupiter and Saturn. And I don't know if you know, but yesterday the new moon was directly opposing Saturn. So Saturn was the brightest in the sky. It'll be all year. And that's significant because I feel like we're all evolving. We're all leveling up, even the energies of the planets, or even especially the energies of the planets, because we're all electromagnetic beings. So as their conscious beings evolve, it creates a resonance. It's like if they were these big pianos or big guitars and they strummed a certain note and it was a raised vibration than what we normally were singing at, this new harmonic resonance, we are attuning ourselves to that. And I don't know if you've ever been in a room with lots of instruments, but often if they're all in tune with each other, you'll strike a chord on one and they all will start resonating that tone. Isn't that beautiful? It's all music. We are all music. Music. All right, whatever. So what I'm feeling is Saturn is shifting vibration in a very big way. I received this through channeling. Saturn, I wasn't even trying to channel. You can believe me or not, but Saturn told me that its original vibration is feminine, and it's been very heavily put onto it had put onto it a very heavy masculine vibration. And she said, I am returning to my feminine vibration. And what that says to me, because Saturn, among other things, is the ruler of time. And time, the way it's been taught to us, is a useful tool. And if we just use it as a tool, then great, But time, the way it's been taught to us, it's come to be an authority in our lives. And that's imbalanced. That's very imbalanced because it's not the truth. It can be, mapped in whatever into, well, the number 12. It can be mapped into the number 12, a repeating calendar based on the number 12, a clock on the wall based on the number 12, repeating 12s. I think there's something to the number 12. Anyway, moving right along. So it's that sort of thing. But divine timing needs to be acknowledged too, because true time is more cyclical. If you notice the way you experience life, you come around to similar situations, similar vibrations. It's the same. And to the point that, often you'll ask yourself, why do I keep coming back to this? Why do I keep coming back to this? Because true time is cyclical. And our lives, time could be more represented as like a spiral. And so we come back, and as we come around, we strike a harmonic with that cyclical loop, if that makes sense. And it's simplified. I'm sure it's not even that simple, but for simplicity's sake, time is a spiral. Calendars and grids and clocks, that can be used for useful tools, but don't live your life according to it. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. And that's what these two represent, because and Saturn represents authority in many different capacities. And so if we use the time analogy, I had a beautiful friend say to me once when we were speaking about time. Okay, so I'll talk about cycles really quick, and then I'll say this. So let's look at the moon. The moon is also a timekeeper, because the moon travels around the earth in a lunar month, and it's about every 28 days. So a true month is based on the lunar cycle, and again, a month is cyclical in nature. Time, in that regard, is cyclical in nature. And so it could even be said that time is more feminine in nature. True time, true aligned, divine aligned time is feminine in nature, because the feminine bodies manifest this monthly cycle in accordance with the moon. And so Saturn is reorienting herself to the natural rhythms and the cycles. And I feel like she is recalibrating by shifting this vibration to the feminine cyclical time wave. She is like reorienting the solar system into natural, more rhythmic, divine timing. And so the masculine vibration also is cyclical. I mean, we all are. We're all one. We're all blended, We're all masculine and we're all feminine. Whether you like to see it that way or not, we all are. And so it's a shift also to help the masculine vibration reorient into the natural rhythms and cycles of masculine divine being, as well as feminine divine being. So I'm saying all of that because when you're in divine timing, you're here now. You're aligned with your cycle. You're aligned with the rhythm of your natural rhythm of being, and you are aligned with your own divine timing. Whereas when you allow a clock and a calendar to govern your life, you're allowing it to be an outside authority. And so the grid based on the number 12 represents authority outside of you. And the divine timing, the divine cyclical nature of being, is about authority being inside of you, sovereignty. And doesn't this, I don't know, there's just something about these two images where this has people listening to an authority, And it's interesting they have no hair. That's a whole nother thing to like talk about, because hair is like your antenna and it receives. So they have no hair. But other people could argue, and I'm not looking for an argument. I'm just saying this is an outside authority. Whereas this one, it even has the symbols for the 4 fixed signs. Let's see, Aquarius, is that Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. And that's the cycles going around the seasons. The zodiac is more cyclical. And while the zodiac is also based on the number 12, it still honors the cyclical movements of the planets. But I also like acknowledging the 13 moons. There's something very important about that. A friend of mine, like I said, we were discussing time, and they said to me, 12 says time is money. 13 says time is relative. And if you can return yourself to that 13 vibration and claim your own divine timing, your own sovereignty. I talk a lot about sovereignty. Just not on here, but I probably will. Sovereignty. Claiming your sovereignty, aligning yourself with your own divine timing. So right now you have a choice. Which one is your truth? All right, so that's like the overview. I didn't even mean to go that deep into those cards, but whatever, I flow. So then we've got 2 more cards that kind of really are other ways of saying that same lesson. We've got the 7 of Spheres or Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. And this is about when you're making decisions for your life. I feel like we're all in a major like destiny point right now. And the thing about destiny is that destiny brings us to like choose your own adventure. I mean, we do all have a destiny. We all have a fate, but there are different destinies we choose. There's different options for us. I believe that very much. And I, that's another whole rabbit hole. We're always at choice, but we're not at choice if we don't know that we're at choice. So we're often choosing on default, because we're so ingrained, we're programmed as children to be at odds with ourselves. If you think about it, on the one hand, as children, we're told over and over again, tell the truth. Always tell the truth. Be honest. Always speak the truth. And as kids, we say, okay, that sounds right to me. Speak the truth. And then as children, we speak our truth. We be our authentic, true selves. And then we get reprimanded for it, sometimes downright punished for it. And as parents, we're probably guilty of this too. I know I have been. And so what we reinforce is not the honesty part. We reinforce so often, or we get reinforced to us. What gets reinforced is conform. Conform, 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 conform. It's an ingrained codependency, Conform or be punished. Conform or suffer consequences. Now, again, in all balance, there's some amount of conformity since we don't get to live all by ourselves, or I guess some do, but most of us don't get to not deal with other people. So some amount of, I don't even like the word conformity though. Agreeing to what will keep harmony, that's necessary. But there can be an imbalance of conform, 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 conform when it comes over into, conform to the detriment of your own authenticity. Running a red light and harming others or whatever, maybe that's not being authentic. Maybe that's just being careless or whatever labels. But you get what I mean. Blah, blah, blah. So, but you get it. We resonate with the truth of being truthful, of being honest, of being authentic. But then there's this constant reinforcement with fear about conformity. And so we're at odds with ourselves. So we know who we are, we know what we want, we get some messages about follow your dreams and all of this stuff. Yet over and over and over again, many of us are taught to be people pleasers. And so we'll know what we want to do, but this person could be mom, dad, teachers, whoever, even children, I think you should do this. I think you should do this. I think you should do this. And then, but you really wanted to do something else. And then, so that's the Seven of Spheres. Sorry to talk you to death. That's just what I'm doing. Seven of Spheres, it's how can you even be clear on what your truth is when you've got so much in your mind, you don't know what's yours and what is the others. And yeah, that new moon with the sun in Cancer opposing Saturn, with Jupiter right there, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for choice. And again, it's all about, what do you choose? Do you choose to follow an outside authority, or you choose to follow your authentic, sovereign truth? And that's what this lady's about. The Queen of Swords. It's funny because Scorpio is a water sign, but there's something about her hair whipping that reminds me of a scorpion. And so it can be a sharp truth. It's that sharp truth. And so she's not trying to be the most popular person. She values integrity and honesty above all. And maybe some of us are like this, or maybe we know someone like this, or maybe we'd like to be more like this. But that's what this is saying, confusion or truth. And sometimes, it's been said that sometimes, especially Abraham Hicks, sometimes you've got to know what you don't want to know what you do want. And so that's going through all of this and carefully examining, and it helps to journal, What is cluttering my mind? What is confusion? Because people are saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And there's so many things. She's like, well, do I do this? But what about these, Meanwhile, this one's just like, no, stop. I appreciate the input, but none of this is helping me out. Go away. And then you get clear. So if you want to look at some of these, you can do it a couple different ways. You can examine all of these, write them down, and then feel with yourself, is this my authentic truth? And just feel right away. And if you don't know, you can write about that. Well, what feels like truth about it and what doesn't? And that can give you clarity. On the other hand, you can push everybody else away and just get right to the center of it. What is my truth? And if this is about like a career, or it can be about a relationship, or it can be about a personal choice you're making about your health, or whatever it is, you can write down clearly. You can start with like, okay, say this is just finding a new life path. What are my given talents? What are my innate gifts and talents? You can say God-given, God is given, all that is. What are my innate gifts and talents? What do I shine at? What am I passionate about? What do I excel at? What do I daydream about doing? What do I long for? What do I say someday? And write all that down, And you can also write just anything. You write so many different things. What do I clearly know that I want? What is my truth? And then you can take all these things and weigh them against that list. Well, does that mean that? And just get closer and closer and closer. And then you can use your judgment about, because sometimes we do want things that are ego pleasing. Sometimes we want things, or we don't want them, but they're people pleasing. And so you can go back and forth between that. Is this ego pleasing? Is this people pleasing? What is true for me? What is true for me? And use your best judgment. And I like this because it represents kind of our full spine. It represents almost like our chakra system, only the top is gold, because the gold is like purifying all of that from top to bottom. This gold comes down. And so this is like, I see this as like the Kundalini serpent rising up. And it's not so much that we want to conquer that because we want to strengthen that, we want to invoke that. But it's more like purifying the thoughts that try to poison this serpent, that, you know, the programs that poison who we are. Like, you know, when it comes to believing in our abundance, you know, believing I always have everything that I need. Hold on just a second. People messaging me. I always have everything I need. And anything comes up like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And those fearful thoughts, you know, that's this purifying of that, to like, sort of like taming the serpent, but it's a purification using, and you can visualize golden light and start feeling it's all a frequency. Again, it's all music. It's all a frequency vibration. And, you know, we're especially in this culture, we're pretty indoctrinated with fear and shame and guilt and all of that stuff. And we've been led to associate that vibrational frequency with the outside authority, which can even be, some people even believe that that's God. And, you know, your personal spirituality is your personal spirituality. So you can discern for yourself when I say that God, Goddess, all that is, Great Spirit is love. Is love, is love, is love. And love is God. Love is God. Love is Goddess. Love is all that is. Love is Great Spirit. Love is the great intelligence. Now, if you can think of a vibration that is higher than love, then that's what God, Goddess, all that is. That's what Spirit is. That's what it is. If you can know something higher than love. But if you don't, or whatever it is, it's love. I'll call it love. And so then when you think about fear and shame and guilt, which one resonates as higher? And when you do it that way, well, love does seem to be a more divine vibration than fear and shame and guilt. So fear and shame and guilt is not God. That's humanity. That's humanity wanting to control humanity. And so, again, choosing sovereignty over an outside authority is really getting in touch with yourself and discerning, what am I thinking? What am I creating with myself? What am I invoking? What am I energizing right now? And you can look at your list of all these affirmations and all these truths. Well, does this empower this or does this disempower this? And you're allowed to send it away. Well, this is guilt. This is shame. You got to leave, and you leave now. I only work with love. And stay with it and feel love surround you. Love is there's a consciousness to this love. There's a divinity and a consciousness, and let it in. And if fear tries to come in and tell you that it's God and you're supposed to be with that, you're allowed to say, no, I don't work with this vibration. You are not my highest good. You need to leave now. And then don't energize it, because it might try to come in and get a pull. And if it takes you over, it's okay, because it can't take over for long. It's really more like an entity that's a parasite that feeds on fear, shame, and guilt. And once it's full, it'll go away. And then you can remember who you are. And the next time it comes to feed, you might have greater strength over yourself. And you might not. It might take a while. You're in your own divine cycle. You're in your own divine timing. So however many times it takes, you're an infinite being. We're on infinite cycles. We may not be infinitely this aspect, this personality of, you know, what do I call it? Individuated consciousness, you know. But it's okay. It's really okay. So, purify your thoughts. and allow yourself to align with your truth. Because when you do that, you just watch your ships come in, baby. All you got to do is let it flow. There's a Louise Hay quote that has been with me for almost a decade and a half, and it's, I trust and flow with the process of life. I trust and I flow with the process of life. I've got to say it 3 times. I trust and flow with the process of life. And just flow, baby. Flow. All right. There's a few other cards. It does look like, again, everybody's at this major destiny point. We have been a year of shattering upon shattering upon shattering. And it's interesting because we've been in year upon year. We've been in cycle upon cycle of shattering layer upon shattering layer upon shattering layer. And man, does it come back to this. It comes back to that. Sovereignty. I'll do a longer video about prime reality being within. And I'll just say it really quick. You can breathe deeply and you can tap your thymus and say prime reality is here. And you stimulate your, maybe your endocrine system. It's whatever floods you with your feeling chemicals, you know, hormones and all that. Prime reality is here. And you just tap that in and breathe it in. Isn't that lovely? And we can do a bigger one, but I'm not going to do all that. So we're all being shattered, and that's this Tower card. It's this Tower card. And so we're going through cycles of depression and craziness. Like, I'm losing my mind. I'm crazy. I know that feeling. I know many who have been feeling that way, and usually they take it to depression because that's at least sane. Others, it's hard to even take it to depression, I know. Just know that you're being shattered. But, you know, if you look at it like a seed, you know, the seed's under the ground, and the seed grows best when it's under the ground, right? You can lay a seed on the ground and sometimes it'll sprout, but oftentimes it'll get burned up in the sun. The seed actually needs to be in the dark womb of the earth to receive the nourishment. The earth is very nourishing. And that's the feminine, you know, that's the womb. And the dark need not be synonymous with evil. That's a whole nother talk, but light and dark are part of the balance, but it doesn't have to be good and evil. That's a mind fuck. It's really, they're not the same thing. Dark is where imagination lies, because in imagination is where the ideas come out. It's creation. Creation happens in the dark of the womb. If you think about a sperm fertilizing an egg, it happens in the dark. And that egg grows, it forms, it receives the nourishment. So we come back to the seed, and it receives the nourishment from the earth. Well, as that seed begins to grow, it has to crack its shell. It experiences a shattering. And you know, have you ever thought about how dramatic and even maybe traumatic that might be for the seeds? I wonder how many seeds begin to crack their shells and they die because they're afraid to continue to grow. And how many of us, we start to get shattered and we just kind of die because we're afraid to grow. And people grow old quickly, or, you know, so many things will happen. But so many of those seeds, they follow the process of the shattering, and they shatter that shell, and the shell falls away, and they still find themselves in darkness. But there's a nourishment there, and there is an urge, what's the word? Activating is one of the words. It's a quickening. I like that word. Sorry, now my children are messaging me. It's okay, sorry. So, yeah, speaking of children, right? Um, so I gotta realign myself. Okay, I've learned to put this on airplane mode now, when I record videos. Okay, so that seed, it grows and it sprouts roots and it sprouts a stem and it begins to grow. And then eventually it pushes through the surface of the earth and into the light. And again, light can be a devastating experience if you've never really experienced it before. So again, think of that dramatic moment and even the traumatic moment that the little seedling experiences when first it's exposed to the light. So again, I wonder how many seeds make it that far to be exposed to the light and then they wither and die because it was too much for them to handle. And you can take that metaphor as you want to, but how many receive that light, receive the nourishment, recognize the light in themselves, recognize themselves in the light, and they grow towards it and they grow stronger and they feed and they allow their roots to stay in the nourishing darkness of the earth and they allow themselves to go towards the light of the sun. So grow. Allow yourself to grow. This whole shattering experience, allow the cycles to happen. Allow the seasons to happen. Allow. And I've read in, Barbara Marciniak's books, the Pleiadian books. God, I love the Pleiadians too. Something about love is allowing. And I think I've said it like the greatest virtue of love is that love is allowing. Love allows. Love allows all things. Love doesn't fear. Love just allows. Now, from our perspectives, sometimes we're really confused at what has been allowed. But if you can just allow yourself to become sovereign, allow the love to grow within you, allow the light to shine through you, and start understanding that prime reality is here inside of you, then maybe you can shift and now call in solutions for what has been allowed and now we see is not in alignment with the higher vibration that we're calling in. And we choose to heal. But we have to break out of fear. We have to break out of fear of where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? How am I going to pay my bills? How can you allow and shift the vibration to where we all love each other and we all take care of each other and we all provide for each other. We all wish to see protection for children, love and reverence for children, and so many things. We wish to shift, love and protection for us. We wish to see if what it is to let others love you and care about you and feel safe enough to extend that feeling to others. If you know it, then keep doing it. And if you don't know it, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. We are in a major destiny point right now. We're all shifting out of those lower vibrations of fear and shame and guilt. And we're going into a sovereign place. And when you get into your own space of authenticity and you are resonating your own authentic vibrational frequency, your sovereign, authentic vibrational frequency, then you see that you have an effect on others. You have an effect on your reality. You have an effect on what manifests in your life. So, there's a new homecoming. Yeah, I didn't even expect to say it that way, but there's a new homecoming. No longer accept mediocre. if you are at an impasse with somebody, honor them as free people. It may not resonate with you. You may want to stand with the fight. Now, I'm an activist. I go out and I stand with others, not even as much as I want to, but I've gone through a lot of personal changes. But over the years, I've been an activist. I carry signs. I march with people. I chant. I'm an activist. I do absolutely support activism. But do you see the difference between standing up and speaking your truth and blending with like-minded people and creating a unified field, and especially bringing in a high vibration of love? That compared to fighting and trying to force somebody who doesn't believe what you believe and trying to fight with them and going into a vibration of, what do you fear if they don't exceed, if that's the right word, to what you're trying to put into them? Sometimes it's just got to be enough that you've planted a seed. And the funny thing is if you are representative of a shift, if you are representative of change, then their argument, you've already heard it before. And the advantage you have is your point. Maybe they never heard it before. And so you've already had time to evaluate how you feel about what they have to say and how you feel about what you have to say. But maybe you can say it in a way that they've never heard it that way before. And then just plant a seed. And if they're triggered, bless them and release them. People can only change as quickly as they can. And remember that you've been allowed to live your process. You've been allowed to experience your own cycles. Everybody needs to be allowed to experience their own cycles. And if you were brought into their consciousness, trust that it unfolded exactly as you were supposed to. And if they trigger you and if you trigger each other, don't fret about it. Don't go into guilt about it. Don't go into fear. Don't go into shame. Just allow it and see that they planted a seed with you somewhere, that there's some truth that triggered you, and just look for it. Journal. Journaling is fantastic and fabulous. Journaling. Wow, I just looked at the timer and it's at 37:37. Cool. I'll have to look up that number. So yeah. Don't accept the mediocre. And there's something else about an impasse and accepting the mediocre. You don't have to be a people pleaser either. It's not about that either. It's more about allowing people to be who they are and allowing detachment. And that's not easy for a lot of people, probably most people. It takes a bit of practice, so don't expect to just be able to master detachment. And if you do, then fuck, you're doing great. But detachment, allowing people to go. If they're doing any kind of harm to you, if they're bringing you down, if they're lowering your vibration, whatever, you don't have to heal them. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to It's okay to bless them and release them. It's okay to say, this is toxic for me. And I don't want to be toxic. I don't want to be toxic to you. So I honor you as a free person. I bless you and release you. And then mean it. Let them go. And when you let them go and you bring yourself back into alignment with your authentic vibrational frequency, bringing yourself back into sovereignty, you restore yourself. And if someone else needs to be there, someone else that is more in alignment with your truth, someone who is a mirror of what you turned your attention to, and no longer a mirror of what you've been struggling to release. And so by releasing them, you release an aspect of yourself. It's all beautiful, y'all. All right. Well, I've been going for nearly 40 minutes. I don't know if anybody will even watch this, but I send you love and light and blessings and peace. And if anybody does watch this, I hope it brings you clarity about something or whatever. I hope it does. Um, if you would like a reading with me, I am available. I do it a couple different ways. I can and do palm readings on video. Those have to be live because I need you to know the ways. I need you to move your hands and whatever. And otherwise, I do tarot readings and I do astrology charts. I do natal charts, and I do compatibility charts. Those take a long time though, so those are kind of pricey. But whatever. You can hit me up at airyfairytarot at gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Facebook too, Airy Fairy Tarot on Facebook. You can message me on there. Either one. YouTube, I think you can do that, but it's easiest to do either email or Facebook. I have an Instagram, but I'm putting my toe in the water with all the social media because, when it comes to technology, I am really good at hugging trees. Haha. All right. So, with love and blessings and peace, I wish you all well, a joyful, merry new moon, and I'll see you next time. Bye.